Hello again. So this is going to be a cooking video, obviously, and I thought about doing it live, but I'm still not sure how the live algorithms work. If you know how it works, put it down there, because it seems like I'm getting bunches and bunches of views, but none of them are counting in my channel hours, anything. Oh, goody. That's a great noise to hear in the background, isn't it? I'll have to clean that up in a moment. Anyway, what I'm doing today is I am going to be making this boneless pork leg. It's called a butt, but it's actually a front leg. The butt's a ham. The butt of a pig is called a ham. The front shoulder is called a butt. I don't know. But this is boneless, so it's already been cut well open for me, so I can season this whole thing inside and out, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to stick it in a low oven, 200 degrees, and I'm going to let it cook for like 6 hours. And that will make it tender, juicy. I would say fall off the bone, but there is no bone. And wonderful and delicious. And it's going to be an excellent source of pulled pork and whatnot for our meals for the next few days. So this is a one and done mini day meal. And the base of my rub that I'm going to put on it is I used some of this Trader Joe Italian style sofrito. And then also I added some ginger and some allspice, just a little bit of each, very small amount of each, just to get a little bit of that background. Ooh, what is that? Lots of mustard seed, lots of celery seed, because they both bring big flavor to a barbecue. About a tablespoon of this all-purpose seasoning, a little bit of the Aleppo pepper, but not very much because I don't really want it spicy. And I read the ingredients in the sofrito, and the sofrito already has red pepper flakes, so I only used the smallest amount of this, maybe just a little pinch. And then butter garlic seasoning from Aldi and smoky brown sugar seasoning from Aldi. And so those mixed together form this. This is my rub that I'm going to rub all over this. Now the reason that I have it in here is so that I can get my hands dirty with meat and not worry about contaminating any of my jars. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also did add roasted garlic. This is one of the few times that I will actually use dried garlic. Dried garlic just works better in a marinade like this, or in a rub like this. Most of the time I far prefer fresh garlic, which you know by now if you've watched my channel, that I buy in bags already peeled and stick it in my freezer. All right, so here we go. First things first, I'm going to open up this piece of pig, and I'm going to really liberally season it everywhere, because I want these seasonings to go through. And I did mix this seasoning mix together really well, so it should be a good representation of every different flavor that I put into this seasoning mix going into this piece of meat. And right now at Aldi, which is where I like to shop, their pork butts like this are $1.99 a pound. So this is a little over 7 pounds, and I paid a little over $14 for this huge hunk of meat. And this is 7 pounds. This will make 14 meals easily because there's no bone in it. So none of that weight is bone. This is all meat and then some fat. I'm trying not to use that hand because I'm trying to keep that hand clean so I can dip it into the seasoning mix. And I'm going to cook it this side up because I want that fat to drip down into the meat and make it even more tender. So I'm also going to definitely season the fat, even though at the end, in the long run, that won't get eaten. But if I season the fat, then the fat is already flavored when it drips down into the meat while it does its really long, really slow cook. Like I said, this is going to be in a 200-degree oven for, I don't know, 6 hours, 7 hours, however long I feel like cooking it. But it'll be nice and well tenderized by that long, slow cook. And I am going to cook this with the cover on, so it will be braising itself in its own steam. Now, this is not a real braise. Don't come at me saying, oh, you're not really braising it. I know I'm not really braising it, because if I were going to braise it, there would be liquid. And as you can see, I'm not letting it sit in its liquid as much as possible because I have that round rack underneath it holding it off the bottom of the pan. And that's it. Meat is now completely seasoned, press that seasoning in, get a little bit more over there, pick up some off the bottom because I missed a spot, and it always goes down to the bottom anyway. So pick up some off the bottom, add it there. And now I'm not adding anything else to this. I'm not adding any water to it. I'm not adding any broth, no stock, nothing. It is going to cook just in its own heat, its own steam, and its own juices. And it's going to cook covered, like I said, for 5-6 hours at a 200-degree oven. The reason I'm going 200 degrees is I don't quite want the water inside to boil. Now, remember that when you set an oven for 200 degrees, it goes between 225 and 175 because it has to heat up, and then it cools off, and then it heats up, and then it cools off. All right. In regards to my oven heating up, this is just one little more trick. My oven vent is right here underneath my control panel. So I have this bucket, this tea kettle, and this is never actually used as a tea kettle. I don't heat water in this to drink. I have an electric kettle for that. But I'll put this tea kettle right underneath that vent. And every now and then I will come out and I will pour the hot water out of this, because the water in this tea kettle will absorb the heat coming out of the stove or out of the oven. All ovens are vented somewhere. You cannot heat gas air in a confined sealed space because it will cause things to explode or expand to the point where they explode. So all ovens have a vent. All ovens, when you turn on your oven, you are heating your house. And so I'm going to use this to capture a lot of that heat, pour it down the drain, add more water, stick it over here, and I'm pouring that heat down the drain as I go. So there you go. There's your little tip for the day. This is the recipe that I'm using for the pork for the day. This will be shredded when it's done, and I will serve it on baked potatoes, or I will serve it on buns, or we will serve it in a salad or next to a salad or with accompanying vegetables. This is going to be meals for a very long time. This is a very low spoon recipe. It only took me about 10 minutes to mix up my mix, and that involved going through my spice drawer and finding all my spices that I wanted. And then it took me this amount of time to get it ready to go in the oven, and the oven is going to do all the work. I love low spoons cooking. It's all I'm able to do, so that is what I'm going to do. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time.